Welcome to the Next Level Facebook Ads Podcast with Phil Graham. We help you master Facebook ads and give you an unfair advantage over your competition. Are you ready? Let's go.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Next Level Facebook Ads Podcast, episode 311. I'm Phil Graham. Today, I'm going to be sharing 5 Facebook ad mistakes that can cost you money. I see advertisers making these mistakes all the time. They are common. They're making them with Facebook ads and Instagram ads. And the crazy thing is, sometimes they can be very costly. So I want to help you guys avoid all that crap. I got you covered. I'm going to teach you what these are today so you can avoid them. So I'm glad you guys are here. Before we jump into it, if you do want to get in touch with me for some one-on-one coaching or to have ads run for you by a pro, just go to my website, philgrahamdigital.com, or you can DM me on Instagram at philgrahamdigital. So let's jump right in because there's so many people that are failing when it comes to advertising. They're running ads, they're losing money, they don't know what they're doing, and they're frustrated. And sometimes they're actually, usually more than sometimes, I would say most of the time, they're making mistakes that are causing those things to happen. Now, we can't cover every mistake in this episode, but we're going to talk about 5 really important ones. And let's start with number 1. And that is running ads without a clearly defined strategy. Now, I don't know if you've ever done this. I hope not, but you may have because most people have. Most people, even some experienced advertisers, randomly run ads really without a strategy. And what's even worse, they really don't even know why something worked when it did work. And they certainly don't know why an ad didn't work when that happens too. Doing it like that is a recipe for failure. You're just setting yourself up for a harder road. So instead, you should have an overall strategy and framework for when you're running ads. We run ads different ways for different things. They're not all the same. Sometimes our strategy is to get inexpensive awareness and then retarget that for conversions. Other times we're going straight for conversions. Other times we're going for value and conversions. In other areas, we're going for credibility and trust. We have strategies, and then we use data to tell us what to do more of and what to do less of. And that's a framework that works really well for us. Compare that to how most people run ads. They just randomly think of what to run and just randomly run it. And like I said, whether it works or doesn't, they don't know why. They change it every once in a while just for the heck of it. It's not even fair. When you have a strategy that is sound, that's based off of skill and experience, and then you use data to make smart decisions compared to like your competitors who are probably just randomly running ads without a strategy, you really have an edge. You have an advantage. And that's a huge thing for you. So I hope you're not making that mistake of running ads without a clearly defined strategy. Oh, and by the way, there's also strategy, not just with running ads, but micro strategy too, like how you're going to target, who you're targeting, how you're going to do the ad copy, what are the different angles, and many other things. Those are different episodes because we could do an episode for every one of those individual things. Today, we're talking about the overall mistakes, but there's micro mistakes too that we'll also talk about in future episodes. All right, mistake number 2 is not being consistent with your ads. Whether that's running ads for a couple weeks and then just turning them off for a couple weeks, or something that's more common, I see people doing all the time, is they'll launch an ad, and if they don't have like immediate success within a couple days, they think it's a failure, so they turn it off or they make a change. And it's like, it hasn't even had enough time to go through your audience. You don't have enough data. You're not giving it enough time. In many cases, unless you have some huge budget, if you're shutting it off that fast, it's probably not going to work out that well for you. Obviously, there are some exceptions from time to time, but you've got to give your ads enough time to work. Some of our biggest winners, looking back at our data, some of our biggest ads took some days or even weeks, or sometimes even longer, before they started really crushing it. And if we would have turned them off because they didn't succeed in the first couple days, that would have really hurt. We would have lost a lot of money. That would not have been good. Now, there are things that we saw in the early stages that showed me that this ad may have some promise. So it's not like we're blind to it and letting it run blindly for a long time. There's some data points you can see, and I've talked about those on this podcast before, and I'll talk about those more in future episodes. But the important thing is you've got to give it some time. I've got a great analogy for that, and this is going to be a shocker. This is not a sports analogy. Can you believe it? If you've been listening for very long, you know that I am the king of sports analogies, but this is not a sports analogy. I want you to imagine an airplane when it takes off. So as you start rolling down the runway to take off, imagine if you are the pilot of that airplane, and as you essentially put your foot on the gas, I don't think they do that. I think they pull the thing back, but whatever. As you do that and go to full power, let's say 3 or 4 seconds later, since you're not in the air yet, you're like, oh, this didn't work. Let me just turn off. I guess airplanes don't work. Would you ever fly? No. It's going to take a little bit of time for the airplane to get down the runway, gain some speed, gain some momentum, and then be going fast enough to eventually lift off. You've got to give it time. And sometimes ads are similar. You've got to get it time to cycle through the audience and get enough data for you to make a smart decision. So make sure that you are consistent not only with running ads and not just turning them off and not running anything and then running more a few weeks later. Make sure that you're not turning individual ads off way too soon or starting and stopping them over and over again. Number 3, another big mistake I see people making so much is using services that essentially offer like what I would call brainless templates. Just copy this template. You don't have to do anything else, and you're going to have success. Or copy their magic system, and it's magically going to work, and there's unicorns flying in the sky and pink elephants and all that stuff. Or maybe you're buying cheap, low-quality ad creatives from somebody, or having somebody who's really cheap run your ads. Like all of those things are typically bad ideas. Things that are really important, like your ads, getting awareness and attention in front of your audience, building up credibility and trust, and turning that into sales. Those things are supremely important when it comes to your business. Those are not things that you want to skimp on. And no, there are no get rich quick, easy templates that work for everyone. You know, I'm telling you, I've run ads for lots of years. I can take an ad for one client in one city that's crushing it. I could use the exact same ad copy with no changes for another client in the same industry, but a different city, and it might fail. And I need to make changes because there's a lot of variables. So do not believe the brainless templates and the get rich quick crap, because that's just going to take you down a road that's not going to be good. And also don't go cheap when it comes to either your creatives or who's running your ads for you. Trying to save money on things, especially these days, is great, but you shouldn't be going cheap or saving money on stuff when it comes to your advertising or coaching, when it comes to learning more about advertising and things like that, because those are really important. Save on groceries, save on subscriptions, but make sure that the things that matter the most that can help you upskill yourself and also help you get in front of your audience, that you're doing that the right way and you're not going cheap on that, because that's probably going to hurt you way more than it helps you. Mistake number 4, I see this all the time. This is so common, and that is in your ads using images and or videos or thumbnails that pretty much look or sound like everything else you see on Facebook and Instagram. Now, look, we're all human, and it's kind of normal to look at what else is out there and think that that's normal and think that you should be doing similar things. That's like a normal way to think. However, in order to have success with ads, you pretty much have to be good at getting attention and standing out. You've got to differentiate. You've got to stand out. You've got to look a little different than everything else that's on there. So instead of trying to look at what people are doing and do the exact same things, how about look at what people are doing and run ads that are completely different, or use images that have people or things or colors or styles that you hardly ever see on Facebook and Instagram. Because if you haven't seen it very often, chances are other people haven't either. And then guess what? If that's your creative, then you're going to get noticed. You're going to get that attention that you probably wouldn't have gotten if you just looked like everyone else. So don't make that mistake of just using common images and colors that everyone else uses. And then lastly, for today, number 5, big mistake is either not testing your ads. And I mean real testing, my friends, or testing them, but you're doing it wrong. Both of these things are common. Obviously, not testing is a no-brainer. You should be testing. But a lot of people think they're testing their ads, but they're really not. So here's the deal. When you're testing an ad, there really, in most cases, should only be one small difference between two ads if you're testing. If there's multiple differences, then you're not going to know why it worked or why it didn't work. But what's worse is many times, like when people come to me for coaching, I'll look at what they're doing or what they've done in the past, and I'll see an ad set that has like 50 different interests in the ad. And I ask them, well, let me ask you this, like, how do you know which of these 50 interests are working and which ones suck and they're just costing you a lot of money? And they can't answer that question. It's impossible. And same thing with ad copy and headlines. They could have many versions of all of those things, but because of the way they set it up, there's really no way of knowing what's working and what's not. And you might as well just be flushing money down the toilet at that point. You don't want to do that. So you want to commit to not only testing ads, but doing it in the right way. Only test one variable at a time. Now, you can do multiple tests at once, testing one variable for each test if you have enough budget. But one variable should be what's different between two ads that you're testing. So then you definitively know, as long as you let it run long enough, you'll know which of the two variables worked better. And then you can grow from there, progress from there, and then do more and more and get better and better and keep using data to make smart decisions. That's one of our secret sauce things. We test properly in the right way, and then we use data to make smart decisions. And that is what can give you a huge edge. So my friends, these are 5 mistakes that I hope you guys can avoid because they've helped us tremendously. Episode 311 is in the books. I've got some cool stuff coming up for you guys very soon, including some more stuff on AI and ChatGPT and how it relates to marketing and Facebook ads. Can't wait to share some stuff we're doing that others are not. So stay tuned for that very soon. I'll talk to you guys on next week's episode. Peace out.
Thanks for listening to the Next Level Facebook Ads Podcast. Please remember to subscribe and share this with all your friends. For show notes, more tips, and to learn more about Phil, please visit philgrahamdigital.com/podcast.